fire Earth is burning. The alien Xeroth Dominion thought humanity was weak, just another species to conquer. But they didn't know about him. Skull Prime Ape, a genetically enhanced gorilla, smarter than a human, stronger than an army. He doesn't just fight, he hunts. Alien the invaders call him a monster, their soldiers whisper his name in fear. But when the elite Shadow Talons come for him, they learn the truth: humans aren't the prey, they're the predators. Collision as the last Xeroth warlord makes his stand, he realizes his mistake too late. "You're not a man," he gasps. "You are death itself. Drop of blood, the war is over." But the hunt has just begun. The sky was burning. The once proud skyline of New York was now a graveyard of twisted steel and crumbling concrete. Screams of the dying were drowned out by the relentless hum of alien war machines. The invasion had come swiftly, without warning, without mercy. Among the ruined streets, a lone figure moved with deadly precision. His body was covered in thick, matted fur, but his eyes burned with an intelligence no beast should possess. He was Prime Ape, humanity's last biological weapon, an enhanced gorilla with the mind of a tactician and the strength of an entire battalion. He was the nightmare of the invaders. The Xeroth Dominion, an intergalactic empire, had long dismissed humanity as a primitive species, nothing more than a collection of weak, fleshy bipeds. But they hadn't counted on him. Prime Ape crouched atop the remnants of a collapsed skyscraper, his massive fingers gripping a scavenged alien rifle. His keen eyes scanned the battlefield below, where Xeroth soldiers moved through the wreckage, rounding up survivors like cattle. He let out a low growl. This was no longer their world to conquer. A patrol of 3 Xeroth warriors moved past his position, unaware of the nightmare lurking above them. Prime Ape launched himself from the ruins, landing with bone-shattering force. The first soldier didn't even have time to scream before his head was reduced to pulp beneath Prime's iron grip. The second raised his weapon, but Prime Ape's powerful hand snapped his arm at the elbow, spinning him around before using his own rifle to vaporize the third. He turned back to the last survivor, the one now whimpering beneath him. He grabbed the alien by the throat and lifted him effortlessly. "Tell your leader," Prime Ape snarled in perfect Xerothian, "the savages of Earth are not done yet." Then he crushed the soldier's throat with a sickening crunch. News of the dreaded ape of Earth spread like wildfire through the Xeroth ranks. Soldiers whispered his name in hushed tones. Commanders dismissed him as a myth, until their best assassins started disappearing. Entire squads were found mutilated in the dead of night, their blood used to scrawl messages on walls: "We hunt now." The Xeroth High Commander, Zarnok, had had enough. He ordered the immediate deployment of an elite execution unit, the Shadow Talons, a group of genetically engineered hunters feared across the galaxy. Their target? The ape that haunted their nightmares. Deep in the sewers of what was once Chicago, Prime Ape prepared for the next strike. With him were the last remnants of human resistance, scrappy survivors who had seen Earth burn and vowed revenge. They weren't soldiers. They weren't trained. But they had something the Xeroth lacked: desperation. As they planned their next move, a sudden, eerie silence fell over the tunnels. Then, a sharp, alien growl echoed through the darkness. Prime Ape's nostrils flared. They were here. The Shadow Talons moved like ghosts, their black exosuits blending into the shadows. But Prime Ape was not a fool. He was the true predator here. He waited, motionless, listening to the faintest disturbances in the air. A whisper of movement. A second too late. With a roar that shook the tunnels, Prime Ape swung his massive arm in a devastating arc. The first Shadow Talon warrior barely had time to register the attack before his skull caved in. The others opened fire, but Prime Ape weaved through the blasts, moving faster than any creature his size had the right to. He seized one of the attackers by the torso and hurled him into the sewer wall, the impact turning bones to dust. Another lunged with a blade, but Prime Ape caught the weapon mid-strike, snapping it like a twig before ramming his fist through the enemy's chest. The last assassin tried to flee. Prime Ape pounced, landing atop the soldier, pinning him to the ground. He leaned close, baring his fangs. Your kind calls me a beast, he growled. But a beast doesn't hunt. A beast doesn't plan. A beast doesn't enjoy this. He dug his claws into the soldier's throat, watching the light fade from his alien eyes. I do. The war was no longer an invasion. It was an extermination. But not of humans. Xeroth forces were retreating from Earth, not because they were losing territory, but because they were losing the will to fight. They had come expecting weak, frightened creatures. They had found monsters instead. Prime Ape and his resistance had taken the fight to the enemy. Human scavengers had begun hijacking alien warships. Former captives had turned into executioners. The savages of Earth had no mercy left to give. The final battle raged over the ruins of London, where the last Xeroth warlord, HFY, made his final stand. His forces had dwindled. His once mighty army had been reduced to scattered survivors, terrified of the darkness, where the ape and his hunters lurked. Prime Ape stormed the command center, his blood-stained rifle in one hand, a serrated blade in the other. The warlord turned to face him, his mandibles clicking nervously. You are not a man, HFY hissed. You are death itself. Prime Ape smiled. Now you understand. The fight was brutal. HFY was no weakling, he was twice Prime Ape's size, armed with the finest alien weaponry. But in the end, it wasn't enough. The warlord collapsed, his exosuit shattered, his blood pooling at his feet. Prime Ape loomed over him, raising his blade for the final strike. HFY wheezed, the galaxy will know what you are. They will come for you. Prime Ape leaned in, whispering the words that would haunt the universe for centuries. Let them come. With a single, decisive motion, the blade fell. The war was over. But the hunt had just begun. The savages of Earth had risen. And the galaxy would never be the same.